What would you say to someone they're like oohed and awed by real estate and they're watching these HGTV shows and there's $1 Million Realtor and they're like, oh, I want to do that. Like, what would you say to someone?
I would say it's exactly like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Welcome to Perreault, everyone. It's Chris and Lesley and our good friend Larry Hall. Today we're going to hang out with Larry and learn a little bit about his businesses in real estate, really, at the end of the day. But Larry's a close mutual friend to both Lesley and I, so we're glad to have you on the podcast today. Larry?
Here I am.
Have you been on a podcast before?
One time.
One time.
What
so
was the topic on that one?
So that was actually at the beginning of, well, not even the beginning. It was like 3 or 4 months ago.
Okay.
About all of the events that we do, which I kind of, pawned off of Bobby and
R&D, rip off and duplicate.
Yep. That somebody wanted to interview me about that. So
Sweet.
Client events, stuff like that.
That's awesome.
So you got some practice for this podcast today.
A 45-minute practice. Yeah.
Okay. That's about
We need a lot more practice.
Yeah. Now, Lesley, so Larry is in a total different generation, and a lot of you know that we make a lot of 80s references. Probably won't be making 80s references today, I don't think. I think Larry rolls over to like, who's your favorite band or artistic group in high school, junior high? So we'll find out real quick.
I
In
don't
Sync?
know. My wife went and saw the guy that was from that the other day. Can't think of his name.
Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was telling me these songs. I'm like, I have no idea what they are. So
You don't remember any of them?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Is she your age?
Yeah. We're a month apart.
So they're 90s.
Yeah.
90s music.
I mean, I grew up on like country music, Rascal Flatts, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So 90s country.
Whatever they played on the radio.
Yeah. On the country station.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to remember that.
There you go.
See, I'm flattering Lesley now.
Why?
Yeah, I could just see it in your face. Like, you're like, oh, this
Well,
guy.
I'm looking at her face trying
No,
to
I'm like,
figure it
I
out
love it
right
because
now.
they wind up talking about random stuff like bands, and I'm like, who the hell is that? Like, I know who Rascal Flatts is, so I'm like, hey.
So you're happy?
Yeah, I love country
see.
music.
I
love
see.
all music, but I don't know
They have
a
that
lot
song,
of the stuff that they listen
That
to.
What Hurts the Most song. I
Yes.
like that Rascal Flatts song.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yep. Okay. All right. So we're going to ask you a little bit about your life. Where are you from, Larry?
Valley Center.
Valley Center, Kansas. And if you don't know where that's at, it's kind of a suburb of Wichita.
Yep.
A small one.
North side.
Just north.
North suburb of Wichita. Yeah. Valley Center.
Born and raised, never left, still live there.
Born and raised in Valley Center. What's in Valley Center? Do you know the history of it?
Big Larry's Burger. That's what.
Well, we know that.
Yeah. Big Larry's is there. Do I know the history of Valley Center? Not really.
No.
I know that it was founded in like 1878.
Well, he says he
This
doesn't know
was
the
from an
history, but he
elementary
knows
book report there, report he had to do.
That's really about it. I saw a picture.
That's pretty good, I would say.
The very first house I moved into by myself, I saw a picture where that was the first house on like the whole block. So, I mean, it was built in 1890, I think.
Wow.
And yeah, seeing
Crazy.
a picture of that was interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Tell us a little bit about your family. Like, what's your what did you grow up in?
Siblings.
Brothers, sisters.
I have one brother that's a teacher in Valley Center. Let's see. My parents own Big Larry's Burgers. My mom's a nurse. If she needs to, she'll save your life. And my dad
It counterbalances
or
the
your
burgers.
dad's. Or your dad's.
Yeah. And my dad will give you a greasy hamburger. So that's
It's
all
all
right.
about balance.
Yeah.
How long has your dad owned Big Larry's?
Since April 1st of 2008. So what is that? 16 years?
Yep.
Something like that.
A little more.
Interesting. Okay.
I was there on opening day. I was 12 years old. I skipped school that day.
Nice.
So you're like, he needs to open more businesses.
It was a lot of work to get there. Even at 12 years old, I helped with some of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
what did your dad do before?
he worked at another hamburger place here in Wichita.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah,
Yep.
I remember that. But he didn't own it.
No.
He was his head.
He was a manager there for a long time, and then my brother was born, and my brother had some issues with his head. It was misshaped, and so my dad took off for 6 or 8 months or whatever it was, and then whenever he went back, it was just not the same, I guess, and so he started his own.
Interesting. Mom's been a nurse the whole time.
Yep.
And your, you said brother or sister?
Your
Brother. Younger, older again?
Younger.
Younger?
He's 7
Okay.
years and 7 months younger.
So are you guys close?
I mean, he calls me if he needs me, and I call him if I need him. I mean, I'm not saying that we talk every day because we don't, but we know that we're there for each other.
Interesting.
That's how my brother and I are. My brother lives in Valley Center.
No.
He does? Is
Yes,
that right?
he does. Yep.
And does he teach high school or?
No, I think he teaches 5th grade.
Okay.
He actually just last month he was nominated for the Golden Apple Award.
That's
What's
cool.
that?
That's like a really
The
distinguished teacher award. Yeah.
teacher award.
Yeah.
Got it.
So they showed up in his classroom and brought him a golden apple, and he got like $500 towards his classroom, and
Wow.
That's
like,
cool.
That's cool.
they interviewed him on the news and all that, and so
Wow.
he's famous now.
That's
But
awesome.
not on Prairie Podcast or Prairiepreneur
Prairiepreneur.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's for Larry.
Right.
Larry's following after his dad, and your brother's following more after your mom, probably,
Yep.
in terms of job stability.
Yep.
So I heard you shared with me a story about meeting your wife and getting in trouble on the playground.
Yep. I did do
I want
that.
to hear this.
Yes, it's worth hearing.
So my wife and I, we grew up together. We were in the same exact class all the way from preschool all the way up to 6th grade whenever you started switching classes and all that.
Yep.
And in 3rd grade, thought it was smart, and I spanked her on the butt.
Oh, I heard.
And next thing I know, I have in-school suspension for the week, and I'm grounded at home for a month. And
At 3.
in 3rd grade, yeah.
Oh, 3rd grade.
Yeah, 3rd grade.
Okay.
That was not very fun.
And then he married her.
Yep, and now I'm married
That's
to her. and
hilarious.
I always joke that now she enjoys being spanked. So.
Oh, shoot. Oh, my gosh. That's
But she-
funny, Larry.
She'll probably shoot me for saying that, but yeah, it is what it is.
Well, you knew. You must have known.
Yeah, I love her.
That's awesome. How long have you been married?
Since 3rd grade.
years.
Since 3rd grade.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
As soon as the hand made contact,
was like,
Yep.
it was like,
Love at first
that's
spank.
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Basically. Yep. We started dating when we were 15, and we got married in 2018.
Mhm.
So what is that? 6 years now?
Mm-hmm. Wow. And you guys have two?
Yep. 2 boys.
2 boys. Ages,
1 and 4.
yep, 1 and 4.
We
That's
just
right. You got a handful.
Yeah. Our 1-year-old just got staples out of his head on Wednesday. So
And what was that from? He wasn't trying to spank some girl.
no, he was not. He,
on the playground.
no. He was just trying to get up on a slide and fell and hit his head and gashed it. And
Oh,
then we
boy.
ended up in the ER, and he got 4 staples. And
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
And it was in the top of his head, so it doesn't
Yeah.
cause like any, scarring
yeah,
on
Did
the face.
Where's your mom a nurse?
Evia Christie.
Okay, so not in Valley Center
No.
specifically
Nope.
or anything like that. Okay,
Oddly enough, my mom and my wife actually work together now.
that's right.
I
Yep,
didn't
that's
know
right.
that. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yep.
Yeah, 'cause- yep.
They're both part of the surgery area of the hospital. So if you're going in to have surgery, then you're probably talking to at least one of them, more than likely.
So Larry, what were you like? What were you like? Did you get any more in-school suspensions, or was that the only one ever? Because I got a lot.
I think that was
Like,
the only
I got to
one.
know that it was bad,
I mean, I had detentions because I was late or whatever, but
but nothing
Not-
too crazy.
yeah.
Okay.
Overall, I think I was a fairly good kid.
Okay.
At least
you
that's what I'm
quiet?
afraid.
Were you quiet?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
Were you obnoxious?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
I
good.
was.
Well, the spank kind of
yeah.
is a little revealing to me, but I wanted to ask a little bit
Yeah.
more information before drawing a conclusion.
Where had you seen that before?
Listen, I was the kid that kind of skated by. I was good at the things I was good at, and then the things that I wasn't very good at, I did just enough to get by.
Right. Were you a prankster kid, class clown?
I was definitely a class clown.
I got it.
Yep. In fact, I have a teacher that I love, Miss DJ. She was my high school history teacher,
Okay.
and we still talk to this day.
Okay.
And she will tell you that she hated having me in class, but she loves me as a person. So if that tells you anything. So Miss DJ,
That's
if
funny.
you see this, just know that I still love you.
So after graduating from Valley Center, what was your next step?
I went to college for about a year and a half and dropped out and started real estate.
Where did you go to college?
Butler.
Butler. So you're just doing undergrad stuff and
Yep. I was sitting
didn't
in
even make it that far.
I was sitting in accounting classes, and I found myself scrolling the MLS more than I was paying attention in my accounting classes.
Okay, how you're doing that in college?
Yep.
Okay,
'Cause I got
where? How did
licensed.
you even know?
I got my real estate license when I was 19.
Huh.
20. I was 19. I turned 20 the year that I got it. So I was still in college at that point and going through classes. I was taking night classes because I was still working during the day. And I found myself just logging into the MLS, looking at whatever the MLS had at the time, and not really paying attention to my accounting classes, and once again, barely skating by. So I was like, you know what? There's really no point in me being here if I'm not going to pay attention.
Right.
And so then I just went full bore and dropped out of college.
So what prompted you to get your real estate license at
Right.
19?
Yeah.
So my aunt, which I'm pretty sure you know my aunt,
Okay. Yes, I do.
she called me one day and was like, hey, what do you think about getting your real estate license? And I was like,
Did you have any clue what you wanted to do?
no.
Nothing. Just
No, I
kind of open to whatever
yeah,
came your way.
I didn't know what I wanted. I was still working at Big Larry's at the time, and I was fine with that. I was still a kid. I mean, I'm still a kid, but
Right.
I had no idea what I wanted to do. But she called me one day and said, hey, have you thought about doing this? I said, absolutely not. I have never thought about it. It has literally never crossed my mind.
Huh.
And next thing I know, I'm enrolling in the classes to go and take, and then I went and took my test, and
Why did she recommend? Is she a realtor?
Yes.
she is.
Oh, she's a realtor.
Yep.
Okay. So
Yep.
Okay.
She's been a realtor, and she actually owns a real estate company here in Wichita also. And I want to say she's been doing it for like 20 or 25 years, something
Yeah,
like
I think her and I are about the same.
that. But I also have a great grandma who just retired from real estate after doing it for like 50 years.
Wow.
And I had a cousin that did real estate for a little while also.
Interesting. So
So
you got it. You got it in the background.
yeah.
Interesting. So, what was it that were you class clown at Butler?
No.
That
No.
changes things, huh?
Yeah,
And-
it does.
And were you married or not yet?
No.
No. Okay.
Nope.
Were you engaged, like
Nope.
dating seriously with your wife?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Da-
yeah. So you guys were
dating,
together.
yes. Oh, yeah.
Got it. Was she in nursing school?
Yes.
All right. And then no more
Which-
class clown at Butler.
So
College whips you into shape, I guess.
One of the hardest classes I took was actually a biology class, but Hannah actually needed that class, and WSU, where she was at, wasn't offering it when she needed it, and Butler transfers over to WSU, so we actually took that biology class together, so she passed for both of us.
Oh, really?
It was great.
That's funny. That's interesting. Okay, so what happened? Were you just bored, or did you just like get more interested in real estate, and it just kind of
So
took you completely?
I saw that I could start making money. I knew a lot of people. I mean, I had been around a lot of people in Valley Center just
Right.
through working
Your
at the
dad's-
restaurant.
Yep.
And I just decided I was wasting my time going to college where I knew that I probably wasn't going to use what I was doing there anyway. And I didn't enjoy it. I was just like, this is a waste of time. So
So here we all are.
Yep.
Here we are. Here we all
all
are.
three of us.
Right.
Yep.
So, real estate. What was your first transaction like?
I got cussed out at the closing table.
Oh.
By your client or the other client or the agent?
The other agent.
Oh, nice.
which now he's a good buddy.
That's funny.
So,
Well, he marries who he spanks, right? He's best friends with his enemy in business.
yep.
It's great, Larry.
So oddly enough, I did not turn in the earnest money for that deal because I didn't know I needed to
Sure.
until about 2 days before closing. So the title company really did us a solid and got all the title work done.
But it
in
probably
literally-
rocked the boat on the lending side if they were getting finance, right?
Well,
Did they even
we're,
know?
we're getting to that.
Okay.
And so fault number one, which now all my agents that join my team, they know they need to turn in the earnest money
Yes.
within like 3 days. We have a 5-day grace period, but I say
Yes.
3 days. So I didn't get the earnest money turned in on time, or literally nearly at all, because they ended up wiping it off the contract.
Right. Amendment.
Yep. And then the buyer called me 15 minutes before we were supposed to be at closing and told me, hey, I have to mortgage another property to pay for this one. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, my banker, he said that it would be fine, but we won't be able to close today. And I'm like, well, I'm sitting here at the title company, like we're waiting
for
on
my
you.
paycheck.
Like
I can
we're
see
waiting.
why you got cussed out, Larry.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get it.
So
Oh, no.
we're sitting there, and I'm sure my face just goes white. And so I tell the other agent, I'm like, hey, I just got this phone call. What do we do? Because this is deal number one. I don't know what I was doing. And so yeah, that's where the cussing started, and
And the friendship.
Yeah.
And the friendship.
And so oddly enough, we ended up closing that afternoon. I don't know how the guy's bank like pulled it together. They obviously did something.
In-house
up.
financing or
Yeah.
something.
And so we ended up closing later
Wow.
that afternoon. Everybody was happy at the end of the day. It just didn't close at 9 a.m. It closed at 3 p.m.
Right.
But it
With
definitely,
a humongous scare.
it definitely threw
in
us
the
all
mix.
for a loop. That was
Did
interesting.
you ever figure out why the bank stipulated that? Like, did he not have the money?
Oh yeah, he didn't have the cash to close he had, while we were under contract for that one, he ended up buying something else and didn't have the cash to close on that
That's
one.
mind blowing.
So when you started, did you start as a solo agent or were you on a team?
So technically, yes, I was on my aunt's team. But I mean, I don't really know, to be honest. We worked together, but I kind of was a solo agent as well. I wasn't, from what I see as like a traditional team now, it wasn't like that. So I'm not 100% sure.
That sounds like Austin and I
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
So you know what's crazy is in well, at least the way that we work today in lending. Well, me, my team.
Yeah.
I don't know about anyone else, but it should be pretty much standard protocol nowadays. But like we get a contract in the door, we can't even push it into underwriting and processing without proof that the money is there that they're going to use to close with, right up front, from the get go. So
They
that's
might have
just,
done like a line of credit
that's
or
just
something
wild
like.
that didn't show up until the end.
And what year would that have been?
2015.
So I don't know.
Or
I was thinking
2015,
before 08
yeah.
and 09. I was thinking how wild some of that stuff was.
Mhm.
But
Interesting.
And
And was that the worst? Is that was your first and worst,
no.
or
no.
first? But there's
he's
another
been cussed
worst.
out again.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure I've had other deals that weren't so great.
What's the most
But-
bizarre?
I
Have you
can
ever
think
had a
of
bi-
one.
Oh yeah. Oddly, so that Lesley and I had a pretty fun one.
Yeah.
together. Huh?
Yeah, she had the seller, I had the buyer, and
I was just mentoring the agent that had the seller.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was a disaster.
Did it close?
The seller got cold feet, I think, is what happened, and decided that they didn't want to sell their house after they already had an accepted offer. It was just like they weren't finding what they were looking for. So then all of a sudden they didn't want to sell their house. And so, yeah, it
was rough.
It was an interesting deal, but it closed.
We still have that little saying.
Yeah, we're not going to say it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about real estate here for a minute. So, are you glad you made this move?
Yeah, I don't know what else I would do.
Because it's been since 15?
Yeah.
Right, so you're going on almost 10 years.
Yep. This will be my 10th year in 2025.
Got it. You have no regrets overall about taking that road? Do you think you would have done anything different?
I probably would have listened to people that knew what they were talking about and not just doing my own thing. I guess what I mean by that is I would have listened to the people that
were tenured agents,
right? Instead of just doing my own thing.
Gotcha.
From
That'd
the
be the
beginning.
only regret.
Yeah.
So if you're young in real estate, you listen to the.
I think it's even outside of real estate.
Seasoned people.
Like, listen to people that have what you want.
That's what you should do.
Ask them.
Yeah.
And don't think that you know it all, because I'm totally guilty of that, especially at that age.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I wish I would have started coaching
There's something
sooner.
about that age, I think.
Well, and
where you just
it goes back to so when I was like 18, I bought this project car, and my dad told me not to do it multiple times. He's like, dude, you don't want to buy that car. It will be a money pit. Like, the guy had wrecked it that I bought it from, but he had all the parts to fix it.
Sure he did.
Yeah. And that car ended up being a money pit.
You were completely justified.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate.
So I bought this car, and I mean, it was a like a 78 Mustang. I mean, it was, if I would have got it all fixed up, it would have been a beautiful car. But that was the issue. I never got it fixed up.
Yeah.
So you've been in this 10 years, which, by like going by statistics, most businesses fail in the first 5 or less. You've made it past 5.
Yep.
And you're doing well. So what would you say, I guess, to advise other individuals getting into real estate? Like, how should people go into real estate and look at it? Because there's a lot of realtors.
Yeah.
Right? We know that.
So number one, the way the world's going, you have to be on video, if you ask me. If you're a brand new agent, you either need to join a team as well, or get yourself a mentor that is actually willing to share the kind of
take you under their wings, and
not just a mentor that's like, oh, well, you're either going to pay me to do this or you're not going to do anything. Because there are people out there that they're not going to do anything for you unless you pay them. And I mean, that's fine, but you're not going to get the best results. You're not going to have somebody that actually truly cares about you in that kind of situation. So if you find somebody that helps you get into the industry without any,
strings,
right? No strings attached. That's what I was getting at.
Someone you trust.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Is just finding somebody that you trust, or joining a team that you trust, and they will show you the ropes. I mean, there's been countless times where there's been successful agents that have joined my team, and they did the work. They did what I taught them, and I learned from them just as much as they learned from me.
Yeah, agreed.
And so then there's times where I'm just like, hey, you're getting to that point where I'm not necessarily a benefit to you anymore. Like, obviously we're still buddies, but it's time for you to fly the nest. And I have multiple agents that are very successful that started on my team, and now they have their own teams.
Yep. So be on video, so innovate and change with the times.
Yep.
Find a mentor or a strong team so that you're not trying to, so you're not getting cussed out at every closing.
Yes. So somebody that's going to walk you through a transaction.
What would you say to someone they're like oohed and awed by real estate, and they're watching these HGTV shows, and there's $1 Million Realtor, and they're like, oh, I want to do that. Like, what would you say
I
to
would say
someone?
it's exactly like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's have you ever seen Selling Sunset?
No.
You know,
I've seen a little bit of it.
yeah, I
But,
mean,
like,
That's
I guess
what I show up like every day.
I
Yeah.
guess like what like how would you stop someone that's looking at it that way, and maybe this is not like
It
prevent
all goes back to the spanking.
prevent, how do you
Always across the face. Like,
how do you prevent them from a like crash and burn? You know, super big disappointment. Like there's a lot of realtors out there that don't they're not
come hang out for a week or two.
making a living at it.
Yep.
yeah.
Come hang out for a week or two.
shadow someone.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're looking to get into real estate, go hang out with a realtor for 2 weeks. How do you get a realtor to want to hang out with someone that they don't know that's interested in getting into real estate and give the time for
I
that?
guarantee.
What do they say?
I guarantee that person knows a realtor that they can go and hang out with for a week.
So, okay.
Well, but do they know somebody that's successful at real estate that they can hang out with?
That is
Because that's very different.
That's a big
Yeah.
So talk about that. Let's talk about the difference between realtors that make a full-time living at it and all the other ones that make up the majority that don't.
So, I mean, your day is broken out into money-making activities and your other stuff that doesn't necessarily push the needle forward, but
It has to be done.
yeah, I mean, it has to be done. I mean, there's other people that you can hire to, like a transaction coordinator, to take that load off of you, to not have to, do all of your paperwork. I mean, you're still, in charge of your contracts and knowing what's in those and all that, which that's another very key thing, because the newer agents, they just see flashy, like hire a transaction coordinator. You don't have to do anything with your contracts. And I can guarantee you that I will work you up and down on a contract if you do not know what's in there.
So your advice would be to get with a seasoned realtor for a couple weeks and shadow with them essentially.
Yeah.
But
And that's hard too, because I've had conversations. I'll have friends message me and they're like, hey, my daughter is thinking about getting into real estate, and this will be somebody from high school or whatever. And to shadow me at this point looks entirely different than what their job is going to look like.
Yes.
Because the lead generation, that your business has or that mine has is
it's
a
gonna
lot
take them a long
of
time
past
to get there.
clientele and people that we know and that we've built our business around. And so it's hard to give it that full look. I went and had lunch with a younger gal that's going to WSU right now. Her dad and I went to high school together. And I'm like, this is really what it looks like. And it was pretty hardcore, because I don't want it to look like it's this glamorous thing that they're used to seeing on social media or they're used to seeing on TV. And I was like, and I want you to understand, it is hard on relationships and it is hard on this. And you have to have somebody that has that full buy-in of the time commitment that this job takes. And I don't know, I've never been male, so I can't say what it's like from a male perspective and what your wife thinks about that. But I know what it's like to be female, and I know what it's like to have a couple of ex-husbands that didn't like the time commitment that my job took for me to have this level of success that I had to have for me.
That's a good point.
The other thing with that is nowadays, I don't worry about where the next paycheck or anything like that is coming from. But whenever I started, I had no idea where those paychecks were coming from.
Correct.
Like, if I wouldn't have still had part-time job, and whenever I started real estate, I still lived with my parents. So that obviously helped tremendously. But going into it, like if I had to restart today, I would probably, number one, I'd be on video because visibility trumps ability. It has nothing to do with.
I love that saying. Say that again.
So your visibility trumps ability.
Yep.
It's
crazy.
That has nothing to do with.
It's perception.
Yeah. I mean, who are you going to, call somebody that you have no idea that hasn't, like, you're not top of mind?
You don't even know who they are.
Right. Or are you going to call Lesley that you saw her on a video
50 times in the
talk
last
about,
3 days.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're going to reach out to her and say, hey, I saw you doing all this. You seem like you know what you're doing. Like, help me do this.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, you know, there were times where I was like having to borrow money from my parents to keep going. And
Were you married at that time?
that was probably, well, it was right before we got married. And then one other time, like my first year of marriage, I think, I had to borrow money from my parents. And now that's not even on the radar. So
You feel like they contributed to the success of your business?
absolutely.
If they hadn't given you that money, would you be here today doing real estate?
Probably not.
Okay, but would they have given that to you if they didn't see you trying to make it work?
No.
I think that's the difference is, you know,
Putting in the effort,
Yep.
yeah. I mean,
which
even,
it's not easy, right?
Right.
It's not easy.
even with mentoring agents, it's like I want to pour into the ones that I see putting in the effort. Or if I have some leads or some showings or something that I need covered, I want to give it to the ones that are showing the effort and putting the work in. Like, you can tell me everything you want to accomplish and whatever, but if I don't see you actively trying to build something,
Yep.
I just don't have the time or the patience for it.
Yep. And that's I think where it lands, because I was actually my parents had bought a house and they lived in it for like a year or two. Ultimately, they weren't really thrilled with it. They just kind of bought it because it had a little bit of land with it and a big shop, but they hated the house. So they ended up buying another house like a year or two after they bought that one. Me and my wife moved into it, and at that time I was still working at Big Larry's. Well, I would wake up in the morning, I would prospect from 8 to 10 on the phone, calling people, cold calls, past client calls, whatever it was. I would go work at Big Larry's from 10 to 2. I would come back home from like 2 to 4. I would be making calls again.
Who were you calling?
At that time, I was on a team, so I had lots of leads.
Okay.
Internet leads that had signed up on our website or Zillow, Realtor.com, whatever it was, to just prospect. I mean, talk to people, and
Did you do that every day
every day,
for 2 hours,
4 hours a day,
4 hours?
2 in
a
the
day?
morning, 2 in the afternoon.
Good for you.
2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon.
That's why you're still here.
Yep. And it was kind of funny. There was, there's this different Facebook groups, like buy, sell, trade groups and whatnot. And it got to the point where I don't know why the lady didn't like me, for whatever reason. Like, I had talked to her like once, and she put out in one of the Facebook groups, like, is there any realtors in Valley Center that aren't named Larry Hall?
Oh no.
And
You only need one. That's
exactly.
all you needed to respond.
Yeah. And I did respond. I said, no, I'm the only one. And there was lots of people on there that said, oh, Larry's a great guy. Like, you should just call him. And she, for whatever reason, didn't like me. But whatever. It is what it is.
Not everyone likes every business.
Yep.
And every business owner.
Well, I always say not everybody likes Jesus. So, how do you compete with that?
Exactly.
There you go. Yeah. So, okay. So this has been my experience. I work with realtors, both of you, closely all day, every day in my business. And so from my experience, there's like the 80-20 rule seems to apply very well in real estate, where 20% or less of the agents
I'm going to say 95.5.
95.5. Okay, that's probably even better. So 5% of realtors do the work of the other 95%.
Yes.
And 95% of realtors are a hobby realtor, or they're, making very little income doing it. So what separates the 5 from the 95? So if someone's watching this and real estate is...
The time that they put into their business.
Yep. The time, and I mean, ultimately who you're talking to. I know the old, adage is real estate is who you know, not what you know. And, I know a lot of people. We've networked with a lot of people. You're not going to be number one on day one.
Yeah.
So it takes time. It takes effort. You have to know your stuff inside and out. And whenever somebody asks you a question, if you don't know, the worst thing you can do is try to make something up. Just be like, hey, I'm really not sure, but I'll find out and I'll get back to you.
Yep. How many years do you think it takes to really build a solid business in real estate, from going from a brand new realtor to stable realtor, making a full-time living and with a good, pretty solid business? Not
was David's
through
joke
the roof
at dinner the other night? David's been working on an MC position for our awards banquet in January.
For a what seat?
He's going to be the MC.
Oh, the
so
MC.
He thinks he needs to tell jokes. And so he's been researching real estate jokes.
Okay.
And the first one he popped out was, what's the difference between a realtor and a picnic table? A picnic table can support a family of 4.
Right.
And that's true for, a lot of agents.
Yeah. So how long do you think it takes? If someone's really committed, doing the work, and obviously they have to find a way to supplement their income and put enough work and effort in, right?
So for me, truthfully, it took me about 5 years.
5 years. So really about the time frame for any business to stabilize
But I will say I know agents all across the country that have only been doing it for a year or two, and they sell a heck of a lot more than I do.
Why? Why do you think that is? They working harder? What are they doing?
Well,
are they?
It helps that some are more visually appealing than I am. I'm just a fat dude, so.
Larry.
You think that's what
Larry.
it is? Is it just looks based?
Listen, some of it, yes.
He's trying to say there's a sex appeal to real estate.
There definitely is.
Okay, so funny
me.
story. When I first started advertising on Zillow, they called and I had a whole conversation with them. And then I called back and I said, here's the zip codes that I want to advertise in. And I started having better than statistical success with Zillow. And the guy called me back and he said, can I pick your brain? Because you're like doubling what other people's success levels are. Why did you pick these zip codes? And I said, I picked the zip code with other guys advertising as the top couple so that I would be the chick in the group, or I advertised and picked stuff that it was older ladies so that I was the younger one in the group. So I'm not discounting that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a thing in real estate because some of the agents that I know around the country are, mid-20s, early 30s, and they're some are in Malibu, California. Like one of the girls that I know, she's like 24 and she's killing it, selling $7 million beach houses in Malibu.
Well, that's because that's our $100,000 house up by Wichita State.
Exactly. It is, but she got the opportunity to go through and film in Clint Eastwood's house. Because she had built her brand, and hence why I say get on video. And she had gone through enough to showcase her brand, and she's only been licensed for like a year or two. But she was specifically called to go and film all of her content for her next real estate videos, like walkthrough tours and stuff like that, at Clint Eastwood's house that he was selling for like $19 million.
Okay, so to play devil's advocate on that side, statistically, the top earners in our industry are male.
I would agree with you. Yeah, I do. I know. But I think a lot of that is because on the female side, you have a lot of flashy stuff. And on the male side, like I look at it more from a business standpoint of, okay, well, is this returning an investment or not?
Or how it's perceived at home. That's kind of how I looked at it. It was like the guys are expected, the old stereotypes is they're the breadwinner and they have to go out, and the wife will support you going out and selling and working the long hours. And then on the flip side, it's like the wives are the ones that have to take their kids to the doctor's appointments and the school functions and the whatever. And so then it's like, it's not the main focus. So I don't know. I've talked to hundreds, thousands of agents all over the place, and I see similarities with that, but
to answer your question, I don't think anybody really knows.
No. I mean, I think that obviously the more conversations you're having, just like what you had, the more conversions you're having and the more successful you are. But now thinking about her too. So she's 24 and she's in coaching.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you when you started coaching?
About 24, 25.
See, I started when I was 24, but I didn't get coaching until 42. I'm a little slow on the uptake,
Right.
you know, but that wasn't a thing when I was 24.
It's a Generation X thing.
There were some old school Mike Ferry, and that's really like I went out to Palm Desert for one of his big things, and I was like, this is amazing. But it was so ridiculously expensive in my world, and to think, you know, where I started at Wigand and they were taking half of your check for Wigand royalties.
Yeah.
I remember walking up to Mike and I said, I've heard you all weekend talk about how I could get coaching and all I would have to do is sell one house a year to pay for all of your coaching. I was like, I live in Kansas and my average commission is $1,500. And he goes, you need to move. I mean, point blank without a hesitation.
Wow.
And I was like,
Yep.
I guess I won't afford coaching. But also my husband was like, you're already the top agent at that brokerage for listings and for sales at 25. He's like, why do you think you need a coach? I'm like, Tiger Woods has a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried to have this conversation, but it fell on deaf ears. So how do you feel like coaching has impacted your business?
Tremendously.
Yes.
Your coach is there to keep you accountable, just like any coach. I mean, I guarantee Andy Reid keeps Patrick Mahomes accountable every single day.
That's right.
And that is what your coach is for. And your coach is there to walk you through things that you haven't been through before.
Mm-hmm.
And your coach is there to help you get to your goals. And whenever I started, my average price point was like $110,000. And I was scared, straight up scared to sell like a $300,000 house, because I was like, listen, I'm 24, 25. Like, why would these people want to work with me?
Mm-hmm.
And Paco, my coach at the time, he was like, dude, it's the same exact process. All you got to do is just show them the house and, you know, answer the questions and be the person that they want to work with.
Right.
And that was that. I mean,
It seems simple.
yeah.
But I get what you're saying in your headspace.
I can't say what he told me on here, but
We've got an E for
Lesley will
explicit on
give
this.
you permission if you would like.
If you want to say golly gee like Chris would, you could.
yeah. So
I heard us say golly gee for a
one
long
day
time.
we were talking and I was telling
Maybe
him all
ever.
this, and he goes, Larry, quit being a little bee. And I'm like, okay.
That's funny.
And so still to this day, I talk to Paco probably once or twice a month, and we go to a conference each year together. That we're actually both coaches for that organization, and so I mean we still see each other at least once a year. And I always like, you remember when you told me that? He goes, yep. Are you still following that? And I go, yeah. I'm not too scared to do just about anything now.
We're pretty big advocates on this podcast of business coaching, because it's just like you said, if you want to be a rock star, you want to be a top athlete, you want to be at the top of your game, you need a coach to get you to the top of your game,
It's
no matter
schooling.
what that is.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. I mean, I think it's a lot of, like David jokes around that it's my weekly, like counseling session.
Yep, that's
Are
exactly
you in
what
the
it
same
is.
coaching?
No, we have
You're
different program.
So I was on my coaching call this week, and just going back to your point on this selling a higher price point,
Mm-hmm.
on my coaching call, Rick happened to be on this call.
I
And he
love Rick
said-
Ruby.
He said, all of you lenders and realtors on this call, this is how you sell real estate. Like that. He says you got to quit
Yeah.
that and get in there and just confront, what
So
what you're,
when
where
you
you wanna
went
go.
to the next coach, what spawned that move?
So Paco was actually, I went from Paco from being a student to moving to be a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, so I'm a coach for that organization with Jared James. I joined also another coaching program where he's pretty fresh, only been doing it for about a year, but all of the coaching students with him is more getting on video. How do we convert more from video without having to make the 4 hours worth of cold calls? Because that sucks. Sometimes you got to do it, but it sucks. And so now, like, I try to be on video at least 3 or 4 times a week, if not more. There's times where I'm on video 7 or 8 times a week, and then there's some weeks where I just don't either have the time or I'm burnout or whatever. So
I get that.
Yeah.
At what point in your business did you decide that you were going to have your own team?
Really when my son was born. When my first son was born, I had essentially a run-in with my previous team leader, and I was just like, I think I'm just going to do this on my own, and then I did, and I had no intentions of being a team leader at all, and then I had a couple guys call me, and they hounded me for about 3 months, and I finally just said, okay, I'll do it, and now we're here.
Yeah.
So you've got a couple more add-on businesses here, it sounds like.
Yep.
Just Lesley started the conversation out with the serial entrepreneur terminology.
Yep.
So let's hear a little bit about that.
So one of the agents that I hired onto my team about 3 or 4 years ago, he has become a very good friend, and love his family, all that, and he'll tell you every day of the week that I fired him, but not the case at all. So he's got his license like 4 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago, in real estate. I hired him on, and he got an opportunity to go do a bunch of development stuff at a different company, and he was. We had built a mutual respect, and he came to me one day and he's like, hey, Larry, I've got this opportunity. Like, I'm not trying to screw anybody over, but what do you think about it? And I straight up told him, I said, if you don't take it, then I'm going to fire you.
Nice of you.
And so he took it, and then I called him one day, or he called me one day about a year later, and we were just talking, and I told him, hey, I've really wanted to explore what this looked like to start an insurance company. And he goes, okay, so why don't we do it? And I was like, well, I don't know really what it takes or anything.
So what made you think insurance company?
What triggered the whole thing?
So within the Jared James enterprise.
Is this your coaching?
Yes.
Okay.
I went to a mastermind in Las Vegas in 2021, I think is what it was, where you had to pay $5,000 just to walk through the door.
Yep.
And that included no plane tickets, no food, no nothing when you were there, literally just to walk through the door. And at the time, I mean, I had $5,000, but it wasn't like
earmarked for that.
Yes. And I told my wife, I said, hey, I think I need to do this. And so we went. I sat through the mastermind, and it was 2 days. We were all in a hotel room, and it was just one of those things that was like,
I've got to.
Yep, we've got to do it. And one of the guys that was talking, he owns an insurance company, he owns a real estate company, he owns a mortgage company, a construction company, and a property management company.
So all he's missing is like title for the...
Yep. Which I'm pretty sure now he has that.
Yeah.
But he's out in California.
Okay.
And he has a real estate team of like 60 or 70 people. So, I mean, obviously we're in kind of two different wavelengths there. But I had really kind of, since I went to that mastermind, was like, that would be kind of cool, because then you can, try to keep things in house. And, one of his big things was you're able to help people with a bigger vision because you have these multiple different things that you can offer them. Mm-hmm. And obviously, you got to tell them like, hey, we have interest in this stuff and all that. But if they like you, they're more than willing to
trust you.
Yeah, they're more than willing to at least give you a shot. And like we always tell people in the insurance side, like, hey, just give us a shot. Like, we get if we're not the best rate or whatever and you want to go somewhere else, it's not going to hurt our feelings. Just give us a shot.
So is that where the lending piece comes into this?
Well, sort of, yeah.
Multi-prong approach.
And so, like I said, I was talking to John that day, and he goes, let's explore it. Let's see what it looks like. And so I actually called that guy out in California and was like, hey, what's the steps to open up an insurance company? And then I have another buddy that lives out in New York that he has an insurance company as well that is an agent. Mm-hmm. He was an agent with EXP at the time. And so I ended up getting all that information. We found an insurance company that we liked, that we franchised with. We paid our starter fee and whatnot. So me and John, we are officially partners again. And, we got all of our LLC stuff figured out, went and opened up our different accounts. We put our starter money into the account, and then we were on the look for an insurance agent because neither one of us cared to be an insurance agent at the time. Mm-hmm. And we were struggling to find somebody. Well, then just one day we were like, hey, why doesn't your wife just be an insurance agent? Like, that's something that she would
hire within.
Yeah.
That'd be something that she would enjoy. Like, she enjoys that kind of thing. And she went and got her license, and she's been killing it.
That's great.
I will say that John essentially helped push me over the edge with essentially just getting things started. Mm-hmm. And like even just this morning, we were talking about how I'm the one that helps bring in all the business, and he's the one that helps keep it profitable, because I'm not the best with money, and he's a lot better than I am at that. So
that's great.
Yeah. So that was about 2 years ago now that we did that. And then just recently, like within the last month and a half, 2 months, we opened up a mortgage branch, which is through a company called AFN. And I had to go get licensed for that, which, Chris, like we were just talking about, that test is a pain in your butt. There's so much to learn on there. There's so many rules, guidelines, just it's a doozy.
And then as soon as you learn it, they change them.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't ever really plan on actually using my mortgage license. It was there. Like, I had to get it to essentially be to
get paid off of people getting mortgages.
Right.
And so we started that. Obviously, just like we were on the phone yesterday, there's certain things that you offer that we don't, and there's some things that maybe we offer that you don't. So
right.
Back to networking.
Right. I mean, it's you still
stay connected.
Yeah, stay connected with all of those people that you've met over the years, and so mortgage is still fairly fresh, but insurance side we're doing pretty well. And then obviously real estate, I've been doing that now for a while. So
you're doing very well.
It's awesome, man.
I kind of know what I'm doing there.
It eats a lot of chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, we do that. That's one of the kind of series.
That's Larry's signature. See, that's so creative. That's what you do on video to make yourself
So Larry started making chicken sandwich videos for those of you that haven't watched them. And what was really funny is I probably had about 10 different people call me and they're like, have you seen his chicken sandwich videos? Like, what the hell is he making chicken sandwich videos for? And I said, you're talking about him.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I kind of chuckled and they're like, oh yeah. And so then we were out at the kitchen.
Publicity stunt.
Yes. But it's kind of like us with this podcast. It's like we're in front of people and we're networking and we're having good conversation, but it doesn't have to be all about real estate to keep us front of mind. And so what was even funnier is like 2 weeks ago, we were sitting, David and I were having lunch at the kitchen or dinner, one of the two. And David was eating their Nashville hot sandwich. And he's like, oh my God, I wonder if Larry has made a video about this. Like, this is the best chicken sandwich I've ever had.
And I have.
And he always tells them, he rates them on clucks.
Yep.
So however many clucks a sandwich gets. And so David told the gal that was the bartender that we were ordering from, he's like, this is 5 out of 5 clucks. And so it was so funny, and she thought it was clever. So then David tells her that she has to start watching Larry's chicken sandwich videos. And so it's weird that, I mean, it was the first thing as soon as David took a bite of that sandwich, Larry's chicken sandwich videos.
Which, you know, ultimately that gave me a reason to go to all these different places and have lunch. But it also was just kind of something outside of real estate, just to, you know, not everything needs to be real estate. It's mundane. It's not fun. It's not sexy. But trying chicken sandwiches and rating them on a cluck scale is pretty
sexy.
fun. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's Larry's sex appeal.
Yeah.
Is it chicken sandwich?
Yeah.
You might as well.
Yeah.
Just be you.
Exactly. And that is the truth. Like, in any aspect of life, you have to be yourself. Mm-hmm. And if somebody doesn't like you for who you are, then screw it.
That's not your person.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And like that's why, like, people that come to me for real estate clients now, like, I always tell them, like, hey, let's just, now that the new rules have kicked in, you know, we have to have that one-time showing agreement or a buyer's agency. And I always just tell people, like, hey, let's just do a one-time showing agreement, because I don't know if I want to work with you and you don't know if you want to work with me. Like, I don't want to marry you if I don't like you. So
Right.
there's let's just do that and let's figure out if we like each other.
Yeah. Because there's nothing more miserable than dealing with people that you don't want to deal with.
Exactly.
And sometimes you don't find that out until you're about
42.
3 weeks into a transaction. Or,
Right.
you know, whatever. You're already deep into it and it's like, yeah.
Yeah. And you don't want them to pop up on your phone and you just go, oh, these people again.
Oh, yeah, I've never had that happen.
Yeah, right.
Guys.
So
As long as it's not me, you guys smile when I call.
Sometimes.
I'm like,
it depends on
whatever picture you have on your phone of me. All right, Larry, who are 2 people you recommend for us to have on this podcast? We always ask that at the end. 2 business owners.
Well,
that you can connect us with.
If you haven't had an insurance person on, Jessica actually just started her own podcast for insurance. So something that, like, she's super knowledgeable, super personable. She would be great because she has a great story.
Yeah.
I know that I told you I wasn't very, I'm not very noteworthy or whatever, but that's now we're here.
Quit,
so.
Larry.
We wouldn't have asked you if we weren't interested.
Yeah.
But yeah, she would be great, and she'd be more than willing to do it.
Cool.
Who else?
Let's see.
Okay, I'm thinking you did a class about VIP lists and the importance of building a VIP list, and one of your VIPs that you guys both mutually know, and I'm at a loss for the name.
Spike. Yeah, he would be a good one. He'd be a good one.
I'll get him on.
He does a lot.
I just saw him this week. Ran into him at lunch.
Yep. He's one I talk to literally almost every single day.
That's cool.
He's smart.
So
I'm gonna call Spike.
I actually just talked to him this morning actually about. I'm trying to get him to go to the Chiefs game with me next week. But
oh, nice.
Now, you said that you can't have anybody else watching Chiefs games with you because you're too intense.
Well, But when I'm there,
He's going to eat a chicken sandwich.
when I'm at the game, I have 75,000 other people that are just like me.
And if he gets out of line, they just shove the sandwich in his mouth.
Yeah.
Like, shut it.
You might get more viewings if you ate a chicken sandwich at the Chiefs game
So
in the stadium.
earlier this summer, I took my son to the Royals game. Every year, me and my dad, we take my oldest son to a Royals game. We started doing that when he was like a year and a half. So, I mean, I say every year. It's been like 3 years. But
Consistent, though.
yeah. And this year, I actually did a chicken sandwich review at the Royals game.
Oh, that's cool.
And oddly enough, it was actually one of my most watched videos.
See?
So
There you go. Go
Just
eat a
something
chicken sandwich
different.
at the Chiefs game.
Okay, one more
Take one of your
question.
friends that...
What's your goal for the next 5 years in your business?
ultimately to step out of production in real estate and just kind of run the day-to-day stuff. I say run the day-to-day, like, managing the people, not the transaction. My whole life is just bringing business to ultimately our different companies. So that's what I would enjoy doing. Getting to the closing table and all that is fun, but when you've done it 300 times now or whatever, most of them are, they all
Rinse
have,
and repeat.
yeah, they all have their different quirks, but most of the time it's okay. We need to hit this deadline, and this deadline, and we're good. And as long as you do that, then everything's going to be fine. But I really enjoy when you have like a newer agent or an agent that hasn't had the success that you've had, to where things really start to click for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a couple agents on my team now that we're starting to get there, and I love that. So being able to help show the ropes while still, maintaining a lifestyle that I like,
Right.
that would be my ultimate goal.
Sweet.
Love it. It's awesome. I'm glad we had you on, Larry. Thanks for coming and hanging out. I didn't know exactly what the lineup was coming into the week. So appreciate you sharing, especially advice to newer agents. So I hope that there's some people out there watching that might be toying around with real estate, and hopefully this episode will help you.
Yep.
It'll either help you decide about real estate or what kind of chicken sandwiches you like.
Listen, I've still got a whole list of places that I need to go. So
Cool.
that's I've got it on my phone.
Well, I love it. All right. We are 80s children with a 90s child. Yep. So we're going out today with Rascal Flats. Peace out. Thanks for watching this episode of Prairiepreneur. See ya.
Bye, guys.